how do you think that your future self will look back on your time during the pandemic?
My future self would be so proud of me.
I won't take things for granted anymore.
I personally don't know how my future self will look at myself.
I think my future self is going to look back at this video and start cringing just because of like simply how awkward I can be sometimes during these. But welcome back to another installment of the High School Perspective, where today's topic of discussion is going to be Parents Ask Kids Part 2 with the girls. So last time, obviously, if you watched it, I did one with the guys. Now I have girls here with me, which made me a little inclined to think, oh, should I not answer these questions or should I answer these questions? Some of these questions are the same from last time and some of them are different. So maybe I'll answer some of the different ones if I feel like I have a good response, but a lot of these questions I kind of pulled from the same emails that I was getting last time. So we'll see, because it's not to say that the questions were worse or anything, but they were different. So just a quick, let's just go ahead. Well, you guys should reintroduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm a senior at Castro Valley High School.
I'm Izzy. I'm a senior at Castro Valley High School.
I'm Nina. I'm also a senior at Castro Valley High School.
Sweet. So again, like I said, these are questions that I got last time, thanks to my mom who emailed a bunch of her mom friends. So for the parents, thank you for sending in all these questions. It's very appreciated. Yeah, let's get started. Oh, side note, I turn 18 tomorrow. Pretty cool stuff.
Crazy. Ew, so old.
Thank you, Nina. Yeah, totally necessary. Okay, so this is so this first question, I changed it a little bit from last time, but it's pretty similar to the first question. Kind of relates back to the start of the pandemic when we were all kind of experiencing this for the first time and having to transition between virtual learning and distance learning and how they were very different from each other, which we'll get into later. But for this first question, it says, thinking back to the start of the shutdown, how different has life at the beginning of quarantine, the middle, and current day changed, and how has it been different throughout the course of the year?
Well, as ASB president, I had to change a whole lot of things that way. It was really disappointing in the beginning. It was kind of exciting, but also a little bit disappointing, and then kind of numb in the middle, and still kind of numb now. I kind of had senioritis the whole time. I don't know that there was I never had that breakdown, crying because we're missing out on all this stuff. I kind of just stopped caring a little bit, that I just accepted it pretty early on. Didn't get my hopes up. Didn't let myself get my hopes up that we were going back. So that was a pretty bad answer, but
it's cool.
For me, I did have those moments of wow, I don't have a senior year, or those little senior year stuff, the welcome back assembly, or just small things like that. But then I was I kind of just accepted the fact, but it took me a while to accept the fact. And I just started hoping oh, maybe we'll get some kind of graduation. That's all I want.
Yeah. I feel for me at the beginning, it was kind of fun. It was more relaxing, but now, and then as it went on, it would just kind of came depressing because I don't know. I just feel over it. I also lost hope, but it's okay. We're getting there.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you. Depressed doesn't sound that good to me. So I mentioned that obviously virtual learning is very different from what is regular or in-person school learning. And I think for a lot of the students, it's been a little weird, the transition, not necessarily just between in-person and online, but just the whole experience, transitioning maybe in between classes or between, I don't know, semesters has been a little different, I guess. So the question is, how does virtual learning compare with in-person school? And are there aspects of virtual learning that are better than in-person? Because I think we can all agree that in-person is pretty ideal in terms of last year in high school. That's what everybody wants. So that's the question.
I definitely prefer in-person. But there's like some aspects that are good to online. Don't I think actually there's only one aspect I like to online is that like sleeping in and like not having your camera on. Like some of my teachers are really chill about that. But what I dislike about online learning is that it's extremely hard to learn, especially in AP classes, because you see which teachers actually care about their students and which teachers are just going through the motions. And you have to see like, oh, this class, I'm definitely going to have to spend more time by myself than like what my teacher like wants. Because one of my teachers is just so bad. When I ask her a question, she doesn't even know the answer to it sometimes. So yeah, and it's definitely taken a toll on my eyesight because I had to do a couple eye tests to make sure I wasn't going blind. But yeah.
I agree with Izzy. I was gonna say that like the only really good part is like sleeping in, but for me, I think it's like a little too easy to like cheat and stuff. So I'm just kind of like blowing through things, and teachers are being like more nice, which is like great. But I also just kind of don't do things sometimes, and there's no motivation. But I feel like that's also partly just because we're seniors. So I don't know if that would be different if we were at school. But yeah.
Yeah, same here. Sleeping longer is nice. I do feel like taking tests, I've done better at home because I'm like slightly more relaxed when I take them. I think that the stress of being like in the room, specifically from physics and math, like the other ones, like government, I'm not quite sure if that would feel different, but I feel like I'm more relaxed during math and physics tests at home than I would be at school. So like I can take a deep breath and like really think about what I'm doing. Whereas at school I'm kind of like really, really nervous. Um and then yeah, sleeping is nice. And listening to classes that like, are either like easier or just there isn't as much interaction. You can do that in bed easily and it's not really like you're missing anything. But like if you were in class, you would have to sit up straight, even though like there's literally no benefit for certain classes. So that's nice. Bed.
Yeah, I agree. And then I just wanted to, I didn't think about this before, but this is just kind of like a follow-up question that I thought of. Like, I have had teachers this year that are pretty, I think they're pretty mad, honestly, that they can't give some of the students that might deserve a bad grade a bad grade. And it's literally just because it's so easy to cheat nowadays. And it's so easy just to get homework from your friend and do it and like have no kind of penalty. So my question to you guys is, and then I'll answer this too. How do you guys think teachers are handling this situation? Dealing with us, dealing with grading papers, and being in a pandemic. And I'll just go ahead and say, for some of my teachers, I have honestly had a lot of help and support. Like even just after the last video came out. So it wasn't a whole like large window of time. I had an appointment with one of my teachers, and I hadn't done a lot of work for that class, only because I knew that she wasn't as harsh of a grader. So it was sort of like taking advantage of the class in a way, but also like I still felt bad about it and I still wanted to be able to do the work eventually. But basically I had told her, like, yeah, I kind of expected you to pull me in and to talk to me about this. And she was like, well, that's not what I was going to talk to you about. I was just going to, like ask you how you're doing. And I was like, well, that's so nice. Like, I was like, that's like so sweet. And basically I was able to not get out of, but she kind of excused me from doing a few different things because she wanted me like to be in like a good like mental state of mind. But then so that's obviously like a positive thing that one of my teachers has done. But then on the flip side, you do have the teachers that are very obviously and blatantly cranky sometimes, and they don't hide it. Like it's just a thing that I think it's been such a long time that we've been in this sort of like virtual learning type of school, and I think it's starting to get to everybody. And some days are worse than others, but I think it's the same for everybody. But honestly, overall, I think teachers are doing the best that they can, and I hope that the students would realize that.
I agree. I definitely feel like some of my teachers, you can actually tell like they care because they'll like ask us a lot because they know they're going through the same thing. But some of them, you're right, like they just are kind of over it. But can't really blame them because me too.
One of my teachers private chatted me and like just to make sure that I was okay because I was turning in some of her assignments late because she's being, lenient and like forgiving of like late assignments. So I kind of took advantage of that a little bit. And she private chatted me and she said, like, I understand you have an A in the class, but I just want to make sure that like you are doing okay, like mentally, because like, your well being is very fragile and important right now. And it was so nice that she wasn't like, start turning your assignments in on time. Like, she wasn't like mean about it. She was just like, are you okay? Like, is there a deeper reason? And I just like told her it's like senioritis, but like I'll start doing them on time. But that was really sweet that like some teachers are reaching out like that. And a lot of my teachers have been very understanding, even with like teachers. There's one teacher that like knows that a lot of kids in our class cheat. And even she was like, I'll give you guys a free pass this time, just stop doing it. And like I thought that was nice of her. They're being very like understanding of the situation and that it can be like a lot easier to like cheat or to be lazy or like whatever. And I think that most of my teachers are handling it really well.
I mean, I don't want to repeat everything, but I definitely agree with Nina and Alex that some teachers are actually showing that. Well, for me, I kind of have a couple teachers that are just, again, walking through the motions. They're just there. But I understand, like, it's hard for teachers. Like, they have, their entire world has changed on what assignments to give, change their curriculum a bit to make sure we're understanding it. But yeah, like one of my teachers, she is super sweet and she's always bringing so much energy to the Zoom calls. And I'm just like, it wakes me up, even though it's like in fifth period. It's like, she just brings so much energy. And I'm just like, wow. Then that's when you realize like, wow, like this teacher actually like, she's probably suffering as much as we are, but she's trying to make the most out of it and make us somewhat happy in this like tough times.
She's the best. She's the one who checked in on me.
Aww.
To be fair, Alex, you lighten the mood during fourth period.
Aww.
I'll be going to that class and I'll just be mad, like just because like it's just a bad day. But no, yeah, ASB president right here, doing the most for leadership. So this next question has to do specifically, well, I guess not specifically, but let's just assume that it is specifically related to relationships with friends. Because later in the video, we're going to get to one of the most popular questions that was demanded last time that you guys will be able to answer as opposed to the guys last time. So this question says, how has COVID changed your relationships with others? And do you feel that it's made you more or less motivated to engage with others?
Oh, I can start. At first, I feel like I was really good about like reaching out to friends, making sure that I like talk to people. But then after a while, it kind of got tiring. And like, if people weren't talking to me, I wouldn't really talk to them, which is kind of sucky, but that's just kind of how it is. And then like, I definitely lost a lot of friends. So that's fun. But a lot of like my other friendships got a lot stronger. So that's good. But then I feel like I go through periods where I like randomly, I'm like, oh, I miss my old friends, like my random little classroom friends. And then I'll talk to them for a little bit. But I don't really know where I was going with that. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that this time has definitely shown who your real friends are and who you're not, or just there because they hang out with you just at school. Because I definitely saw people who were like my real friends who would text me and want to hang out with me or just like as safely as possible during this time. And the people who just never texted me, but I would hang out with them like every day at school. So definitely showed that. But I definitely miss those classroom friends that I would talk to just in that one class. Like I probably will never see them again. And it just makes me sad because like that's what like high school is like kind of about. Like you just make friends with so many different people and from so many different like cultures or different like just people in general that you wouldn't hang out with like at lunch, but you hang out with them in the classroom because you just vibed with them. And those are the people I kind of miss the most because some of them I don't even have their social media or number, so that just kind of bums me out. But yeah,
I feel like I've done a pretty decent job at mimicking the way I was at school anyway. I still have like random friends in like the classes. I'm a very outgoing person, so I've begun a lot of friendships this year, just like casually been like, "Did you do the homework?" And then that blossoms into like a friendship. It's still like directed at the class, but um I've gotten better, or I've strengthened my one-on-one relationships with people, rather than like, when you're just in like a group with someone and you aren't really like that close with them, but you hang out with them all the time. Like I kind of just have like strong one-on-one friendships with more people. And yeah, I don't know. I'm like it's really hard to hang out with people because COVID, you don't want to like see them in person. But then I also don't really have the energy to like FaceTime or like text or Snapchat people. So it's like that kind of sucks friendship wise. But I'm also content. My mom's my best friend.
Aww.
I think everybody's naturally just kind of gotten lazier over quarantine, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Izzy, you made a good point earlier about how like the people that you like walk past in the halls and like wave to because like you have a class with them or something, or let's say I think this applies to everybody at some point. You have like a math group and you don't know anybody there, but after doing math, or maybe you're not doing math with them for a while, you get to know them, and it's like a completely like diverse group that like wouldn't hang out like outside of the class, but like you're good friends in the class and like you'd say hi to them like outside of class. Like you just like wouldn't hang with them. We don't have that this year. Like you can't like, I mean, a breakout room is one thing, but it's just the worst. No one talks in a breakout room. Like
So
I don't know if that would surprise. Yeah, I don't know if that would like surprise anybody, but like it's kind of sad. So sometimes like obviously I think for us, because we're all pretty social people, like we'd want to be like the one like to talk and like say something in the breakout room. But then like when there's silence or like someone just leaves, it just makes you feel bad about like. I mean, it kind of just gives you that reminder that like it's not normal. Like it's not like normal school would be, and it's just it's sad, but I think we've learned to cope with it at some point during the year. But honestly, my relationships with my friends haven't really changed that much. But like Alex said, it is hard to hang out and talk to certain friends sometimes because you don't I don't know, like you like I don't know. It's like you would hang out with like for me at least, I would hang out with one group of friends on one day during like a regular school year, and then I'd hang out with another group of friends another day. Now it's not like you can't like unless you have like a group chat of people, you can't really like FaceTime different groups like on different days because I mean I think that just gets a little too complicated as opposed to actually like being there in person, because then you make memories like when you're in person. You don't really make memories over the phone. But yeah, I mean. I do miss some friends more than others, but it hasn't really like affected my friendships. I don't think like to that extent. So moving away from the whole like topic on like friendship and how it's affected us in quarantine, we're gonna move on more to like the scientific-ish side of quarantine and like how it's sort of like changed, I guess, or like made us more knowledgeable about it during the time. So with that being said, this parent asks, how or have you done your own research on COVID-19, and where do you get your information from? Like different sources? Is it the news? Is it through other people? Anything?
To be honest, I feel like I hear a lot of things from Izzy because she always is like up to date with things. And then we always go on walks. And then she's like, I wonder when we're going to go back to school or something. Or she's like, oh my gosh, new vaccine. hear a lot of that from her, or like if my teachers will say something, or just like I have done my own like research, but like nothing super extensive. Izzy's kind of always got the information.
I used to be not obsessed, but I would check constantly at the, like beginning of school when I still had hope about going back. I would check like the cases and just Google coronavirus California or whatever, and like it gives you like the little chart. So you could just I was obsessed probably with that chart, like just seeing how many cases to see like, oh, if we're going back, if we're not going back. But then I like started to lose hope and I started to stop checking it every day. But then I think because I'm always on my phone, so I kind of got bored of like going through the same circle, like Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, texting friends. So Google was my new friend, and also there's much stuff to do because soccer was on pause for a little bit. So I kind of did a little bit like Corona research. I guess it's just like Google and whatever the best or top Google stories that they have. I would say like ABC7 or I don't know, whatever's on the top.
My parents read a lot of articles and they just pass along information every so often. And then this is going to sound kind of bad, but I watch SNL every Saturday and it's so much more entertaining when you like know what they're making fun of, or like, you get it, and they reference the news a lot. So I started like watching the news to make SNL funnier. That sounds bad, but like it kept me up to date and like, yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, no, Weekend Update is a great source of information. Like if you want to, just shit on politics for a day or two, and then I think Weekend Update's it's a great thing to go to because Colin and Shay make it hella funny. But
reference things and then you look into those things. So
yeah, exactly. Like you can just watch, like, because they portray people in the media, like on CNN or I guess on Fox sometimes if that ever comes up. But Fox is just I don't even want to talk about it. Honestly, I do my own research. I watch CNN like quite a bit, honestly, like just as it is, but probably like definitely more now in quarantine. I think that's just a given. I talked about last time. I don't know if you guys saw it, but like I talked about how I went downstairs, saw the Capitol breach happening on the news, and was like, "This seems normal, just any other Tuesday, like in quarantine, because we, just everything is normal at this point that comes on the news. Like it's really sad." But I think I get the right sources of information, but sometimes I don't think it's everything that you want to hear, if that makes sense. Like there will be news the news just happens. Like that's literally just the world we live in. Like every single day, something new seems to come out. But sometimes maybe it's like there'll be some underlying information like locally that you wouldn't be able to hear about sometimes. And it's because worldwide or in the country type of news, I don't even know, national coverage would be happening. And you wouldn't get to hear about something happening in your community as much. So that's kind of like a low blow in a way. And you'd obviously want to be able to hear about like how bad the cases are specifically in your county, or how bad they are somewhere else that's maybe important to you. But there's a lot of news, and I think if you turn on the TV, you're bound to see some at some point, unless you're living under a rock and you don't know how to use a TV. But so speaking of the news, obviously our country has taken a little weird approach as to handle, I guess, the COVID eruption, I guess you'd call it. And some might say, like myself, that it sucks, and others might say that someone in particular is doing a great job, but they're not. But beside from that, this parent asks, do you have confidence in the country's ability to be able to deal with this crisis? And if you were in charge of the country, what would you do differently?
Okay, I don't have confidence in the country for starters. And then also I want to say that New Zealand, like they go full lockdown, and then for like 2 weeks or whatever at a time, if there's any COVID cases, they do lockdown. And then they've been having concerts. They've been like going out without masks on, and they have no cases. The second they get a case, they go in complete lockdown for 2 weeks until like that's treated or whatever happens. So I would do that if I was running the country, because New Zealand seems pretty well off right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would do whatever New Zealand's doing. I don't know what they're doing, but I would do that. And I may be a little bit more confidence now in our country, but I think we handled it so poorly. And I think our leaders don't have a grip on our population, that everyone just has different conflicting views, that it's just so hard to handle. And I think that's why we have so many cases and it just keeps on getting worse.
I agree with Izzy. Like, I have a little more confidence, but still not really. I don't think it's being handled well. I feel like they just want things to go back to normal so badly, but so fast, and they're not giving it the proper time and like attention that it needs. And I was going to say the same thing about New Zealand. They're doing great, probably because they have a woman president. They seem to be doing really good, but yeah, probably would just do what they're doing because they're doing the best.
Yeah, I don't have anything like specifically that I mean, there are things that I would do differently, I think, if I was in that position of power, but nothing off the top of my head. If I was gonna change anything, honestly, I don't know. That's a pretty loaded question. I'd have to think about it longer. But do I have confidence in the country? After watching the election results, not really. I don't have a ton of confidence in well, I'll first say I don't have a ton of confidence in us coming together at all, because we're literally we could not be more divided right now. Like, it's kind of like it's sort of like North Korea and South Korea in a way, but that's just like a really bad analogy that I'll never use again, because it's completely different types of way that the countries are being run. But it's sort of like a mini civil war. Like, obviously, if this turned into anything bigger, it could be a civil war, but it's sort of what it feels like right now. You know, there's two sides. There's, of course, the little minimalist parties that are kind of scattered around the middle, but you're basically on one side or you're on the other. And there's a very, very, very thin line in between where people might be able to come together, but right now it's not going to happen. And I don't know how long it's going to take for that to happen. Probably never, because we're in a two-party system, and it might not be the best thing, honestly, for this country sometimes, especially now seeing the past, 4 years, especially. But I'm always going to have hope. I'm always going to have hope in this country and what it can do, because even though it's built on, what some people might consider to be just the worst system possible, I think as a country we have done some good, and I think we will continue to hopefully try at least to do some good if we can elect some people in power that won't abuse it. Okay, so this is the most popular question that came up last time, and the most popular question that, well, I guess it's the same thing, that was sent in to me to read to you guys. So I won't be answering this because I read it out loud last time, but go ahead and take as much time as you want for this, because I think the parents especially like really want to know like how you guys answer. And of course, this is about the parents themselves. So the question is, what are your thoughts and feelings on on your relationship with your family members now? And what would you like more of your parents to do or less of your parents to do?
I think this past year I had community college, like just as a thought. That's not on the table anymore, because I can't, like, I love my family and I think we create a stronger bond, but being in this house is for another couple years. I think I need a break. But my parents have definitely been super supportive in like school, like trying to make me happy, because they see me like sad because I'm not doing what I used to do, or senior year just going down the drain. But I like what they're doing now. They give me space, but then at the same time, they give me support and love whenever I need it. And yeah, I definitely created a stronger bond with my dog. And I didn't think that would be possible, because I would hang out with my dog every day. But my dog has definitely been like my best friend through all of this. So yeah.
My relationship with my parents hasn't really changed. I mean, even when we were in person, like, I spent my Friday nights watching movies with my parents. So like we still do that. Also, my dad never stopped going to work. So it's not like we're all here all day. Um, he's at work most of the day. And then my mom always worked from home, so her routine hasn't really changed either. So it's really just now I'm home. But I'm pretty much in bed in class all day. So I don't know. I feel like as a family, we haven't really been that affected. Um, and then I don't know. I don't think there's anything I would really change that they're doing.
Yeah, I'm a little bit opposite from Alex. Like both of my parents both didn't work from home and now they're both home 24/7. So that definitely was the biggest change.
For me, I feel like I'm kind of with Alex because my parents were always home no matter what. But nothing really changed with my parents except not really anything. But I'm kind of with Izzy. I don't think I can live here any longer. I would go crazy. Anyways, my sister moved out. So that was the biggest change for me because I feel like in a way it made us closer because like just whenever I do see her, which is only on the weekends, like she's just like my best friend there. But then like when she's not here, I have no one to complain to. So I have to like text her. So that sucks. But yeah.
I think like adding on to like the whole parent, like whatever we're talking about, I think our parents, because we all don't have like super young siblings, that our parents kind of have it easier because I see my aunts and uncles who have kids in first through fifth grade literally struggling so much, like trying to balance work from home while trying to teach 3 of their kids who are kindergarten first and second, making sure they learn. So like I definitely see some struggle in some parents. And
Okay, so this next one, this question is like very different from anything I think I asked last time. I don't think I was. I think well, okay, I'll say this. I think I gave the guys like a hypothetical type of situation that was more specific than this one. So I think that this can apply to any age. This question from the parent says, how do you think that your future self will look back on your time during the pandemic?
I don't know if this answer will make sense, but I feel like I won't take things for granted anymore because like obviously we all took school for granted and now we want to go back so badly. Well, kind of. But I think that's like the main thing that will stick out at me, or like how so many friendships and relationships have changed. Or hopefully I'll like stick to the fun things and like focus on that, the few fun things I've done. But yeah, that's it.
I personally don't know how my future self will look at myself because I feel at times I'm very productive. Like at the beginning of quarantine, I was exercising a lot. I felt like I was doing so much stuff to make sure like, because I had my days free. I literally had nothing to do, when I used to be busy from like 7 a.m. to school and not coming home till 10 p.m. from like soccer and then trying to cram in a study sesh for a test the next day. Like, I don't know how I used to do school and soccer. That was really insane. But I think like I've done an okay job of using my time wisely. At the beginning, I definitely was watching a lot of Netflix and a lot of shows and just that consumed up a lot of my time. But now I think I put like a little restriction on myself, like, oh, I should only watch like a certain amount and like go outside, take a walk or something. And I think I'm actually kind of a little bit proud of myself because I have like explored different parts of like my love for things. Like I discovered more arts and crafts. I've discovered like new hikes in our neighborhood, like me and Nina's neighborhood, like stuff we would have never done if we were still in school or normal life, you would say.
I think I think my future self is going to look back at this video or any video that actually I've ever made and start cringing just because of like simply how awkward I can be sometimes during these. But I think it's going to depend on the age. I think like let's say like I'm older and I have a family and I have kids and I like talk about because I think someone had mentioned this in the last video, one of the dudes, and they had said like, what's the thing that you're gonna, tell your, like, what are you gonna have to tell your kids when they ask you about high school and like your last year of high school? You're gonna say that you were the class that had to go through that year, that 1 year that everything got shut down and everything got canceled and everything was kind of put into the perspective of what we're going through right now. And when I heard that, I was sort of like, yeah, what am I, gonna think like, and what am I gonna tell like my kid someday when that question comes up? I was sort of like, wow, well, first of all, I don't really imagine myself in that place like that often, but hopefully it'll happen someday. But honestly, I'd probably tell them the truth. I would just say, how hard it was and like how difficult it was. Not to make them like feel bad for me or anything, but just to say like, and not to say like, that you have it so much easier now, because chances are that they will, unless there's like a apocalypse or something. But I think that I would tell them the truth to give them sort of like a taste of what it was like, what it could be like if that sort of situation were to arise again, or just some advice going forward, like what I took, like the experiences that I took like from that experience. I think that's what I'd say. And if it was completely different and like I was just looking back on like self-reflection, if I was just doing like some self-reflection, I think I would just think that I tried to handle the situation as best as I could, and that I was ultimately like proud of what I was able to do and come out, like how I came out of it. So that's what I'd say. But I think it will depend on my age and where I'm at in life. So
We are definitely the forgotten class.
yeah.
My future self would be so proud of me for doing my best. This is such a difficult time. And she's going to be so proud, because this year, especially for the class of 2021, has not been ideal, has not been what the last 17 years of our lives were leading up to. So my future self is going to look back and she's going to be so proud of me for handling it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
But yeah, I don't know.
Wait, I kind of want to add about because you started talking about your kids, like, like what your kids,
Yeah,
when you talk about future self, I was thinking like 10, like 5 years, like after this is over,
I think the question said 21, but like some people, I mean, like I was thinking a little bit beyond that,
Oh, I was not thinking kids. I was thinking like,
self is going to be like, why did you choose to major in physics?
You're majoring in physics?
Yep.
Really?
So if I were to talk to my kids about like how it was like at this age in senior year or whatever, I think I would tell them I think me as a parent, I think I would be a little bit more lenient now to like them going out, because we didn't really have that much because senior year is supposed to be like the best year, like 17, whatever, best year of your life, or I don't know, something like that people say. But like, huh?
Well, I was just saying we were supposed to have the opposite experience. Like, we weren't supposed to stay in the house.
Exactly. No, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, that's the time, like you hang, you're almost 18, you're turning 18 this year. And I think honestly, I might be a little bit more like give my kids more freedom when they're at this age, maybe. But I definitely think I would change my parenting skills to give them something that I never had or something like that.
So this was the last question last time, but I'm going to add like a surprise sort of a question, because something that the parents didn't add. Okay. This question says, how has actually I should intro it, huh? Okay. So this is sort of going to wrap up like everything that we sort of talked about, and how like the pandemic has, made us like more mature people, or more, knowledgeable people on certain topics that we weren't really, going like expecting to be more knowledgeable about, I guess. So this question from the parent says, how has the pandemic shifted or highlighted our values and or priorities? And what is the biggest lesson that we will take from this experience? I won't answer this because I answered it in the last video, but go ahead. Or I might add on if someone says something cool.
I feel like this is kind of like what I said earlier, like don't take anything for granted because you don't know when it's gonna like just completely be pulled away from you. And that goes with like school and just like kind of everything, I guess. I feel like I have more to add, but that's it for now.
I definitely agree with Nina about don't take things for granted. I knew a lot of people who were like, oh, like for example, homecoming, like all the events we do, like, oh, I'll do song girls, I'll do float senior year, whatever. Like I'll go all out senior year. That didn't happen to us. So they missed out on all those opportunities. And I'm glad I took advantage of those opportunities like freshman, sophomore, junior year. But if I were one of those, like I'm just going to use don't take anything for granted. And when something's given to you, just do it or take advantage of it. Cause I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned through all of this.
Oh, also, like,
Go.
I feel like, sorry, this is really short, but I feel like I'm a lot more carefree now, but not in a bad way, in a way that, like, who cares what you do because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I could, like, die tomorrow. So, like, live in the moment. Carpe diem.
No, I actually told Nina junior, right before pandemic.
At the beginning of the year.
At the beginning, I think it was January of last year, I told Nina my senior, what was it, like mojo, my senior.
Your senior, the thing you were going to live by senior year.
Yeah, this is my senior, whatever, statement that I was going to live by was don't give 0 Fs about anything. Like just do you, don't like consider, like don't just be yourself basically and don't do things for other people or just, or what they care about. And I kind of didn't live up to, like, I mean, I kind of did, but it's kind of hard to do it with like you not seeing anyone. But I wish that I would have the opportunity to like do that if this never happened.
Oh, you know what? This is one thing. All of our holidays and things, we always do different fun dinners or brunches or whatever with my extended family. So I haven't seen my grandparents that live in Southern California in a long time. I still see the ones that live in San Mateo. Not often, but I still see them sometimes. It's just all masked up. But like Thanksgiving, we did a Zoom with all of our extended family, and it was just kind of sad because like we couldn't really hear each other. And it was like a lot of yelling and talking over each other and just like, what'd you say? And then, it was just rough. And like, I miss being with everyone. And then, I think this is the longest I haven't been in Southern California because I visit my grandparents in Southern California a lot. And we haven't visited them since August. We were there when I started school, which was nice. But then after that, we came back and we decided we shouldn't go back down south for a while, which is really sad. So I really value that more than I used to because, like I said, we would go there a lot. So I kind of always took that for granted, but value that a whole lot more. And then also, I know this isn't really what you meant, but I got my driver's license, which I probably would have just kept putting off if I had like schoolwork and stuff to do, but I literally had no excuse and my permit was expiring. So that was something that went to the top of the priority list once my schedule cleared up. That's all I have for that question. This is just a side note. I bought Olivia Rodrigo's merch, which is like a picture of the driver's license. And Janet, our dance teacher at dance the other day, said, "Did you get your driver's license on a t-shirt?" And like she thought I was Olivia Rodrigo on my shirt, and I almost cried. Like she thought that was me.
Aww.
That's so cute.
Oh my god.
And then I was also like, I'm not like I wouldn't get my driver's license on a t-shirt. Come on. And she was just like, okay, good.
Yeah,
That's so funny.
That'd be weird. So just to sort of like tack on to what Alex said about, yeah, you said that you go down to SoCal, right? Like to see your family. I kind of do the same thing. And like, I go pretty often, like, every half year, like I normally would. But this year, no, it has not been the same. I have not seen my family down there for quite a bit. And it kind of sucks. Because my grandma, especially, she's getting older, and I hopefully I'll be able to see her at some point. But in the near future. But What I was gonna say, I was gonna make a reference to a video that I had posted. Actually the first video ever that I posted on this channel specifically. It came out almost a year ago. I think it's gonna be a year in about 5 or 6 days. The cruise video. I went on a cruise at the beginning of 2020 in for like a New Year's thing, and I did it with Ryan, who's obviously been on other videos before, and who does the music for the videos. I went on a cruise with him and his family, who were very kind enough to take me on, and we were there, and we came back at around, like kind of like very like beginning of January. It was a New Year's thing, and when we got back, we wait, a month or so went by, and I was, spending time editing this video that I was going to post, and I posted that video in late February because it took me just forever to edit it. Because I think I just kept pushing it off. But besides from that, that is kind of around the time when all the COVID stuff came out, because that was the first thing that everybody heard about COVID, was that these cruise ships were filling up with all like these zombie sort of people. And like, we didn't really know what it was at all. And like, some people were saying that it was like just as bad as the flu. It's like a seasonal thing that's just going to happen, every, at like that point every year now. And I was like, okay, well, wow, like I was so lucky to go on this cruise, and I completely am happy that I made that video, because I can watch it and make fun of everybody that didn't get to go on a cruise in 2020. But the little things like that, especially that turned into just huge problems in your life, like all these other guys said, and like everybody was saying on the last video, including myself, don't take anything for granted, please, because literally anything that you have can be stripped away in seconds, or in like that, something like that, especially like it's such a weird thing to talk about, because I had just come off a cruise. If that had happened like any time in the near future, I could have been one of the guys that could have like died on one of those cruise ships because of COVID. It's scary to think about, but I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have gone on. But it makes you feel a little bit different about the year. So that's all I'll say for that. But it's just crazy. I don't know.
So I also have family in down south in SoCal, and that I would see yearly. My family is really big, so we would have parties 2-3 times a year, like some wedding, some quinceañera, some whatever going on. And a couple of my cousins actually missed out on their quinceañera, so there would have been a lot of parties last year, and it's just hard to like not see all my relatives. And it was definitely hard for my grandparents, because their 50th wedding anniversary was last year, and they've been planning this like huge party with all the cousins and all, like everyone in our family, and we had to cancel it because of COVID. And it was just so different and not what they expected, to have like a Zoom call. And I almost like cried for them, because I was like, this is just so sad, like they deserve so much more. And yeah.
Okay, last question. So for all the parents that are going to be watching this, because apparently a lot of moms watched this last time and like no dads did. So for all the moms out there that are going to be watching this, and maybe a few dads, this question is not from you guys. This is not even a question, actually. It's a statement that we're going to be saying to you guys. So yeah, surprise, surprise. This is a statement, and specifically it's going to be advice that we have for parents. So to wrap up the entire video, what is our advice that we have for parents during this time, like, and especially for the parents that have kids in high school?
Live your kids live a little bit more in high school.
Let
them out, like let them out more, I guess. I don't know how to word it. Like, I don't know.
I agree with Izzy. I don't know how to put it any other way, but like, let them be teenagers, because that's what they should be doing when they're in high school. But also, I don't know where I was going with that. Yeah.
Trying to think of the best way to word this. Okay. Even if your child seems like they're fine, they might be struggling, but also you might not be the person that they need to talk to about it. So just encourage them to, talk with the real friends that won't make them feel bad about feeling bad. And encourage them to branch out, because what's the harm?
Yeah. Couldn't have put it better myself. But just to add on again, I would say remind them how much that they mean to you, and maybe try to reciprocate the same energy if they were to do the same. I mean, for some students at least, like a lot of kids are going to have different relationships than others with their parents, and that's just kind of a given, just based on how parents choose to, parent or advise their child. But if you are in a situation where you have a good relationship with your son or daughter, or just one of your kids, you want to be able to just remind them, like, that you're obviously you've been together a while, and maybe you have like some vendetta against them now, that you're just like always cranky towards them, or that you have a fight or something. Don't let that carry on, because you guys are still trapped in a house together, and just remind them that you're always going to be there for them. And because if you are, then they'll probably do the same, unless they're an asshole. Then in that case, I feel bad for you. But that's my advice. It's pretty simple, but I think that's the best advice that I can give in this sort of situation right now during COVID.
I like my answer. I just kind of want to add something different.
Yeah, go
on. I don't know how to word this either. Like, be happy and like of what your kids are doing. Like, if they didn't complete one homework assignment, don't yell at them and say like, what have you been doing? Are you just sitting down like on your butt all day on your phone? Like, your kid's probably going through more than that. Like, they're probably stressed. They probably have a lot on their plate. So something along those lines. Yeah.
If it seems like you're annoying them, you either just walk away or you annoy them more. Because if you annoy them more, then you'll see what their tolerance level is like, and then you'll know when to stop and to back off. That's the worst advice ever, but I think it honestly could work.
I think my parents have seen my tolerance level this past year.
Yeah, I've blown up a few times, to be fair.
But yes,
I didn't mean to lash out. It just happens, like,
right.
Like, you kind of just, everything in the back of my head, like, just like came out. I don't know.
Yeah. But when we are being bratty teenagers, we still love them.
Exactly.
We're just having a moment.
Wait, here, I'll say this too. If you personally are dealing with a lot, try your best, like going through a lot, and like you get mad, like your blood just starts boiling, and like you want to release all this anger. Try your best not to release the anger on your kid, please. And this goes for kids too. Don't be like, if you have if you got like a bad grade on a test, and you're mad about it, you should have done well on that test. You should have cheated, so that you can do better. Don't cheat. Try for both parents and kids. Try not to take your anger out on the other party, because that leads to just unwanted just fights, I guess, or arguments, altercations. I don't know what you'd call it, but that's obviously going to lead to a conversation later. Either one person apologizing to the other, or both. I don't know how it would work specifically, but if you're going to release anger, scream into a pillow. It's a great method. I do it quite frequently nowadays.
Or if you have your license, scream an angry song in your car.
Love doing that.
Speed a little bit. Don't speed.
Safely.
Speed. Go somewhere where the speed limit is high, and go with the speed.
Good advice.
Yes.
That's great advice. Okay. So that was the last statement, or I guess question-ish of the evening. So once again, thank you to all the moms and few dads, like I had mentioned, that sent in questions. Obviously, these kind of the two-part video thing is the first thing that I've done on this channel, especially like for these podcast type of videos, and I think it worked out. I think for as important of a subject that this is, it needed a little bit more attention, and hopefully I was able to deliver, and that these guys were able to deliver, pretty satisfying answers for you guys. But yeah, so I'll just say again, thank you for the parents, and thank you to you guys, obviously, for doing this with me. And you guys had great answers, great responses. Anything else that you guys wanted to add or say?
I have something to add. Vote Will for most likely to be a talk show host.
I think it's talk show host. I'm pretty
sure.
I worded it as talk show host.
Okay. Yeah, no, Izzy added a category for me, guys. She added a category.
You did? We love that.
I could be a talk show host. I was gonna, for the poster, I was gonna have, the Tonight Show, how Jimmy Fallon, he like sits like this on his chair,
Yeah.
and he's like, he has something right here. I don't know what it is, but it's like shaped like this, and he's going like this. He's like, I was gonna do that and then put it on a poster, but I didn't have time because I don't know. I thought that the thumbnails would be colorful enough to look good. That's all for this one.
Yeah.